All right, guys, how's it going? This is Bob, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorites of all time, Todd McFarlane's Spawn. Actually, just did this video right after the Cyberforce video. This is not my copy, as you can see this horrific crease that's in this cover here. But these comics are not worth what anyone, thought they would be worth back in the 90s during the speculator boom. I could probably go get a new one of these for like $5, which is what a standard comic costs nowadays. So, I've got, this was in my friend's comic thing. I had it out, so I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do a review of this. I don't really need to reread because I've read this 100,000 times. I remember, again, this was like the start of my Image fever. This is, I remember when I think I read Spider-Man number 16, which is, in my opinion, one of the prettiest comics to ever be released. There was something about it that I was absolutely in love with. It was, to me, that was like some, I thought that was peak McFarlane until we get to this. And then this ended up being peak McFarlane. The artwork for Spawn for McFarlane lasted a while, but towards the end of his run on Spawn as an artist is when the quality of the artwork did start to drop a little bit. And it was only because he was taking on so many responsibilities. He had started the toy company and everything. He was bringing out multiple titles. There was a lot going on here, So I know that it gets a little, overwhelming and everything. And Todd was an entrepreneur at heart. So he, was prepared for that and going for the business stuff. Okay, without any further ado, here is Spawn number 1. So right here, I want to bring this up because I find this to be a bit hilarious. And I think I saw this in an interview with Eric Larson. But here we have the editor is Wanda Kolomijek. I'm not sure, how you pronounce the last name, but we all know that this is Todd McFarlane's wife. And it came off as apparently all of the Image guys, or most of the Image guys, were using their wives' names as an editor for their book, because in the end they really didn't actually have an editor. That was one of their little freedoms or whatever of starting Image, was the fact that they could like do whatever they wanted and they didn't have somebody else there telling them what to do on the books or what to change or anything. Okay, that's wild. Is this is part of the print? I never noticed this before, so I'm going to have to look at my copy because I know that my copy does not have this going on. I had never seen that before, so that's very wild. That's just how it is here. Did my friend get some weird print of this and then mess that up? Well, whatever. But anyway, so yeah, if you look at Eric Larson's, I think it said something like Janie Wong or something like that was his editor, and that's actually his wife's name. And the funny thing is right now when I make a comic, right now, like my comic, I am literally doing everything on my own. I'm writing it, I'm scripting it, I'm penciling it, I'm inking it, I'm doing all the lettering. And when I go to put my credits over there and I want it to look legit, I have everything done by me, I almost want to make up other names or whatever to put in there and say that somebody did something. And the wildest thing is that I've always wanted to work with a team to produce a comic. Like, I felt like, I didn't want to do it all on my own. My first, I guess you could say, professional comic gig where I'm getting paid to put out a book, I talked to the person and we're discussing pricing for stuff and such. And I asked him like, hey, where's the rest of the team? Who do you have for colors and who do you have for letters? And he's like, oh no, you'll do everything. And I'm just like, that was one of the more disappointing things of that. That was a little heartbreaking because I was kind of looking forward to that. Who knows? Maybe I was lucky that I didn't have to do that. I'm not sure because I never had to work with a team, and I know that right now it's incredibly hard to work with just a writer. So anyway, here we go. We're going to start here with an outside view from space of Earth as we're, it's getting farther away. into the darkness, and then it turns into this city, and it's basically just you know, the inner voice of, we know it's Spawn, saying that he doesn't belong here, and he wants to die again, right? And I think that's a nice catch, right? We're getting all of this, inner dialogue here, but I chose to come back. Why? We're getting all of this. Now we're going to get, a setup for everything. And I kind of liked the way that Todd McFarlane did this. It's original, but I think sometimes it came off as just a little bit too much. Like, we're getting 3 different viewpoints for like the same information from 3 different setups. Now this is set up as channel 7, but later on becomes E Entertainment News. So that's wild. But this is the one that I think we see the most in other people's, in the other Image Founders books, is her. I think she ended up being the standard news person for those other books. Okay. So they're just going on about, the memorial or the funeral for Al Simmons, and, what happened to him. And then they talk about his widow, Wanda Blake, and everything. And of course, this is back in 1987 when that death would have taken place. Okay. And now we have Spawn flashing back. And can I just say again, all of this was just, I was so blown away with it. I'm like, I wish I was, as designy as Todd McFarlane is. It's not just so much that I like his artwork and I like what he does, the energy that's there with the action and everything. Like, I love this, picture of him getting burned or whatever. This picture of this skull or whatever. Something on this page, I don't know. My friend was not very careful with his comics, but that's weird because he gave them to me to watch after. But yeah, so I don't know. I was just in love with all of this, but basically this is him flashing back, and we're getting little, clues as to who this person was and what kind of happened. And then same thing over here, right? Of Spawn making his deal with the devil in order to come back and everything when he finds out that, he was being killed. I particularly loved this image where it's like shooting life back into him. And then this image of Wanda here. I always kind of liked that photo negative look that Todd McFarlane would do. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. But all of this here, I was just majorly in love with. I have drawn people doing this face like a billion times. This was something that stuck with me because, like, when I first got this book, seriously, I poured through it like 10 times a day, studying every little line, studying everything, learning what I could on how to draw something. The Todd McFarlane way, because like he was basically like, if you want to learn to draw comics, learn from the people who draw comics, which is what other people had said not to do before. But so yeah, we cut over here and we're getting our first kind of look at Spawn, completely, and we're also getting our first look at the timer, or timer or power gauge, whatever you wanted to call it. Right, and then we get our moment, our piece de resistance, the double page spread of one of the best pictures that Todd McFarlane has ever put out. So much detail everywhere. I could say this, right? Like, the Image guys were known for being late, and comics run on a monthly schedule. But comics run on a monthly schedule when you have the crew to do that. This is why comics were done. Where you had a penciler, an inker, a colorist, and a letterer, and all that. You had a team working on it so that, they could get that done in a month time frame. When you had these people like Eric Larson and Todd McFarlane and everybody making their own book, they're writing it, they're penciling it, they're inking it, that's a lot that's going on there. They have to do most of the work now. I feel their pain because I do the same thing, and I know how hard that is, and I know the things that suffer from it when you have to do more than one of the jobs that are on there. I would have been happy if they had brought out 6 issues a year. If it was every 2 months they brought an issue out in order to produce this type of artwork, I would have been 100% on board. It didn't have to be a monthly thing. I think they were just doing a monthly thing to keep up with everyone else out there who was doing a monthly thing. But just like I had said in a previous video, that I think one of the Rob Liefeld had peaked when he did Youngblood #2, and that was because there was like several months between the release of Youngblood #1 and Youngblood #2, and you could tell, you could see the artwork, it was there. Um, there was time. He had time to work on it. He didn't have to rush it. He could sit back and do as much as he wanted or whatever. Yes, I feel like that hurts sales because people are going to forget the book exists, or they're not going to care anymore because of the huge gaps in between. Um, but I got to be honest, when it was this, we were getting those huge gaps anyway. I would have been fine with it. This page is absolutely insane. The artwork, the coloring, everything about this was mind blowing and still is when I look at it today. Um, Now we meet for the first time Sam and Twitch, which will be staple characters of this book. Um, we get a little bit of, we're getting that he's the detective, Twitch is his partner here. Um, I wouldn't necessarily compare them to Sherlock Holmes at all. We have this, disgruntled, overweight cop. Um, and this the nerdy guy who seems to know everything but tends to back him up because it doesn't seem like he's too bright or whatever. But they're looking over the murder of another mobster. Okay, so they're setting up the work for that. So here's Spawn jumping around off of buildings when he comes across a gang of people who look like they are about to hurt this poor woman, and they're ripping her clothes off, and Spawn jumps down and he's like, get out now or you'll all be dead. There you go. I mean, puts it right out there. Blunt. You get, you guys don't have to think about it. I'm telling you what's going to happen here. And they're, so this is something that I always find to be unbelievable. Okay. You read Spider-Man. Everybody knows who Spider-Man is. Spider-Man jumps down and he's like, hey, leave that woman alone. And they're like, well, I got a knife, so I can beat Spider-Man. Don't you think these people have seen the news or read a newspaper? J. Jonah Jameson's made a life of printing Spider-Man stuff in the Daily Bugle. These people always believe, and that's something to me that is just completely unbelievable. It's something that always gets me. But basically, this guy's just like, I'm going to carve you up with this knife or whatever. And Spawn's like, I don't think so, as he throws him through a window. And then this guy here is, he's like, yeah, nobody jerks with me. So then Spawn sends this little, spark of a magic or whatever it is that explodes. And these guys are like, oh, fuck, we need to get out of here, right? But it literally took like a bunch, all of this. I gotta be honest, if I saw Dracula jump down in the middle of this fucking alley, I'd have been like, yep, I'm out, sorry. I'd have helped the woman up, cleaned her off and everything, and said, I am going to change my life around forever because I am not messing with this monster, okay? He comes over to help her, and of course, she's just like, if I was her, I'd be shitting myself right now, too, with this, vampire coming after her or whatever. And then, of course, he starts suffering his flashback, right, slips back into all of this. And here is what I'm talking about with the designy stuff, right? Why are there bubbles? I don't even know. His death didn't, revolve around any kind of water or anything like that. But who cares? Because it's on there and it looks awesome, right? We get the skulls, we get his eye, we're getting all this other stuff. We even have spider webs. Why? Because he came off as Spider-Man. There's no other reason for it. Spawn doesn't do anything with spider webs. But it doesn't matter because all of this is insanely stylish and looks gorgeous on the page here and is somehow also telling the story. So that's great. So here, he's having these visions again of Wanda, who, turns into this demon monster, kind of resembles the Lizard from the Tom McFarlane Spider-Man comics, when that shatters back. And, and now he's crying like a little baby while this woman is comforting him. I gotta tell you, a lot of people, say Tom McFarlane's not a great writer. I have to agree. He's not a great writer, but I've never had any real problems with it. I tend to read the whole book, always. I never skip huge parts or anything. I never skip the parts with the news people talking about anything, even though I read the first one. I don't need to read the other two. This woman is the one that should really be comforted. She had a near-death experience, a near-rape experience, and yet she's helping this guy. I don't know. I just think the whole thing here is kind of just, it's wild. I love it. It's a nice turn. It's not a thing you would normally see. This was new to me. I liked it. Okay. Of course, now we're 1992. And like I stated earlier, this guy works for E. So apparently in 87, E didn't exist. I think that's what that was. So now E exists. And also she got, the haircut that we saw earlier in Cyberforce, because this is the version of her that exists now. And, they're just talking about the death of the mobster that we saw earlier with Sam and Twitch at the crime scene. So now we're back in the alley with Spawn. And, he's, again, going through his mind, trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together and everything. What do these flashbacks mean? Who was that woman? I don't know. I remember who I used to be, but I don't know what's going on here or whatever. And then, of course, he takes his mask off. And when he's taking parts of his costume off, he's starting to realize here that he is really nothing but hamburger meat. Okay? And, of course, that would be disturbing to anybody. So he starts to break down and curl up into a little corner there, while they start hearing stories of whatever wacko is jumping people in the alleys. And while Spawn is having his breakdown and these guys are trying to figure out what the hell's going on with dying mobsters and such, we have Male Bolgia, which I read Spawn up until the 30s, issue 30s or something. I think that's at the time that I ended up stopping, because that is when my house burned down and I ended up losing everything. So I didn't continue on with that. I had to go later on and rebuild the collection. But I don't know if it was ever established that he's just straight up like the devil. Like, is Lucifer a separate character or whatever? But this is Male Bolgia, and this is the demon that made a deal with Al Simmons to come back. And then we're told next issue we're going to get the Violator. And then we have Pit here by Dale Keown, which I believe this picture came out way before we got any comic with Pit in it, because I thought Pit came out like way later. Here is a great picture of Spawn by George Perez. It's wild because I felt like those were more Spider-Man eyes than the way the Spawn's eyes were, even though, in a way they are similar. Okay. And then we have something here talking about Image, and the letters pages spawning ground. I'm definitely going to have a letters page in my comic. And I've gotten newer books, but when I get to the end, I don't really see a letters page anymore. And, I know that back in the day, you would send in mail, they'd have a mailing address, you would snail mail it over there to get your letter printed and to get answers to your questions and such. And I know that we live in a world of social media now where you could probably ask these people a question on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and they're probably going to give you an answer right there or whatever. I want to do, I don't know, I want my comment to be more of a traditional type thing. So you won't have to snail mail me anything, but you'll definitely be able to email me or leave comments or something like that, or do it in the Discord that I talked about earlier in another video. I have a Discord. Feel free to join. The link is in the description of my YouTube channel. So feel free to join if you want to talk about comics or do any kind of drawing or anything like that. I have definitely been looking for comic book friends. So I would do, my letters page here, and I will put stuff in there. I don't know. I just think it's a cool thing to have in the back of your book. It's something I would want to keep around. Here's our original Youngblood #1 cover right there. And I'm not even sure if I still have Youngblood #1. I'm going to have to dig through. But that was Spawn #1, one of the biggest influences in my life. The same as Tom McFarlane Spider-Man was a massive influence for me. I was in love with this. I think I bought 2 of these issues because I wanted one that I could wear out and one that I could keep in pristine condition. So again, anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you like the video, please hit like. It helps my channel grow, and I'm a comic book artist who's trying to get his name out there. If you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe so that way you'll be alerted when a new video comes out. I usually have a new video coming out every day, whether or not it's just me doing maybe a speed drawing of something, or just a doodle of some kind as practice, or if it's a, you know, comic book review or just reminiscing about a comic that I enjoyed when I was younger, you're going to get a video of something. So again, guys, thank you, and until next time.